hope you're excited to talk to our team here. I think you've got a lot to share, and in our conversations before, I know that you've got a lot of experience, a lot of like school of hard knocks, learning the hard way on some of these things, and not just from a technical standpoint, but also from an organizational standpoint. So, can you tell us a little bit about first? Just tell us a little bit about Embark, and then we'll talk about kind of your journey.
Yeah, yeah, we are a scrappy middle market consulting firm, mostly finance and accounting. We do a good bit of business transformation too, um, and heavily based in Texas, but kind of all over the country. Um, we started our AI journey 2-ish years ago, somewhere around there, where we um, started a partnership with actually a tool you had on your screen earlier, Elvex, and um, really just used it because it was an enterprise platform that we could adopt and we could bring in house and utilize to create assistants before assistants were in a lot of those frontier models. A lot of the I was watching you and Eric's talk. A lot of those things that you and Eric talked about were kind of the reasons that Elvex was so great for us, right? Had assistants early. It started doing MCP-like things early, right? Connections to Snowflake and other databases, integrations with Slack. So you can just message the models directly in Slack. Um, Again, it's agnostic to model, so we were able to pick all those things. But it was a really unique tool for us, and it's enabled us a lot. I think um, the the biggest things we've learned so far is training and training and training our people is incredibly important. Um, we we found that every single training that we do, like our usage in the telemetry kind of upticks about 10% each time and
Hmm.
stays steady, and then it upticks 10% again. Um, but that's some of our background.
Cool. So I know the Elvex team. They're awesome. Really cool product, I think, and it solves a lot of those problems that I was talking about earlier around governance and privacy and
Yep.
stuff like that. And it gives you multi-model capabilities. It allows you to share assistants that you've created and things like that, right?
Right.
But what was the original, like, what was the problem? Like, why did you go looking for that sort of tool? And what were the initial use cases that you were trying to attack with it?
Yeah, I think for as a consulting firm, right, like us, we just realized that productivity and efficiency are very important. That's something our clients are looking for in us. And so creating practical use cases that make us more efficient and make us more practical or productive for them is key. And that was going to keep us really competitive in the marketplace. And so that's the genesis of why we started down the journey.
And did it work out? Like, what are some like concrete use cases that you actually use this thing for?
I think a lot of our concrete use cases have been in-house so far. We're getting more exposure to doing this at our clients. We have a handful of consultants who have come up with really cool use cases at their clients. Um, but some of the big things that we've done are I actually have an N8N flow that's up on my screen right now too. That's one of the big things is like transcript cleaning, right? We have calls, we have a lot of go-to-market efforts, and um, that's a lot for sales leaders to process or executives to process. And so one of the really tangible things is, okay, well, how do we take down transcripts if we have 200 calls a day? And how do we consolidate it into like the three that are probably important for our sales leadership and our executive to just have eyes on, so that they can go follow up with those individuals and say, hey, how can I support you? How can I help build this and create a case for Embark more? And so um, that's been a really, really fast, tangible use case that we've had of just being able to put information into the hands of our leaders better and quicker, without needing someone to just scrub calls in chorus, right? Like that'd be a full-time job in itself.
So before you would say like, hey, what any good calls today? Like you'd go talk to the sales. There was like a reverse waterfall from the salespeople to like someone would have to raise their hand, squeaky wheel, but there really wasn't like a consistency or a verified way to get those. most important
Right.
calls like in front of the leadership, and now it happens auto magically.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like that I get to follow up the automation piece that you were just doing because like I am, and that's my specialty is just automation. That's what I've focused on for a long portion of my career. Um, when I was back at another firm, I picked up Alteryx and it started kind of piecing things together with nodes, and then started picking up some coding language and SQL and stuff like that. And so the engineering piece is really interesting to me. I think of automation in two buckets now. I didn't always, but now I do, is there's rigid automation and there's non-rigid automation. So rigid automation is that traditional stuff, right? It's the true false filters, it's custom calculations, it's things that if I give you X, you're going to give me Y. Um, and then the non-rigid automation is now where we're interjecting agentic workflows into the process to just process the long form data that we can't all read this. There's so much content and context out there in the world, and it's getting fed to us so quickly. And so just skimming through all of that long form is what's been big for us is cleaning that up and mixing those two things together, rigid and non-rigid, and creating processes that work in sync has been really really nice. And that's what you were just showing, right? In your workflow is it goes through this, it identifies if it's spam, and then it says, well, if it's spam, I don't care, move on. And we have very similar. Is just, is this important for our executives? If it's not, filter it out.
And how many of these different automations like do you have running or are built in the system?
A handful. I agree with you. Is that when you said agentic workflows, people talk about having thousands. There's a handful that have really become productive and valuable, right? We have a call transcript. We have something that does some data enrich for us, right? It kind of scrubs our CRM, looks at the data that's in there, and validates. Do I think this data is right? Right? Because there's all these enrichment services. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. Um, there's a handful more, but they're not coming to the top of my head right now. I think one of the other things that has been unique for us that's maybe not so much on the workflow side has just been using assistants early, and especially in our sales motions when we're going to market. And like you were just showing, like the research that you can get from sales and AI is really robust.
Yeah. What about data that you kind of touched on this a little bit, but this is a question I often get asked is like, oh, I just want, data analysis, data cleaning. I mean, that's a little bit more in the weeds, but like I often get asked like, can AI just do it? I just want AI to be my data analyst and like have it done. What's your opinion there? And like, what's your take on sort of what it takes to get that to work, if at all?
Yeah, it can. But you need clean data. Like you'll trust it as far as you can trust the data itself, right? And the end users will trust it as far as they can trust the data itself. So that's the challenge is do I trust it? Do the end users trust it? If I put it in a Tableau dashboard, are people going to look at it and trust it? And I think that's been a historical data problem forever. And it's the same problem with AI. It's just running SQL queries, right? Like if AI's natural language is coding, then it's just going to do and apply coding to your data the same way that you would, just quicker. And
Yeah.
so y'all were talking about MCP servers earlier, and that's been something that's been really cool to experiment on. Is like the Claude NetSuite MCP server, of how that enables finance professionals in our organization to
Mhm.
just drive straight into their financial data at a governance with governance on top of it, right? Because you're using OAuth with your username. And so it's allowing people to dig through and analyze their balance sheet or their P&L quickly and efficiently, and identify variances in transactions. All of those things are the things that we're applying and working on applying at our clients.
What about the idea of kind of being the glue between all these various systems, right? So your LLM, your typical chatbot, ChatGPT, it's not going to connect to NetSuite. It's not going to connect to any of these other tools. You'd have to take output from those tools, paste it into ChatGPT, worry about data privacy, like, so,
Yeah.
are you finding that these integrations are working, that you're able to kind of tie some of these tools together through AI? And then a part two is, what about the AI tools built into those tools, or AI features built into those tools? And are those competing, or do you find that they are complementary?
I haven't found to your last point, I haven't found AI built into tools that I've been incredibly impressed with yet. I just haven't seen the SaaS fully developed integrated AI that blew me away. Um, the to your earlier point with talking about security and integrations and things like that to tools, I think that's why Elvex was so great for us was I can do the ETL on my end to get all of our data into our Snowflake environment, and then I can connect Elvex directly to Snowflake and start querying against Snowflake data, and that can then just run this automated. You don't have to do the copy and paste that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's pulling it, and I can put that in the hands of our executives, and they can just start querying with natural language against our data very easily. So um, the Elvex piece is what gave us the security. It's what gave us confidence. It's where the SOC 2 compliance comes from, that we know that our data is protected and covered. Um, and it of course it hits our API. We have our own API token. We can see all the process that happens there. We know that that's secure. Um, and we just pay for the tokens, just like y'all were talking about.
So this this idea of I just hook Elvex into our Snowflake account and let our executives natural language into Snowflake. I would imagine that there's some data scientists that are quaking in their boots if they hear something like that. Like that sounds holy. First of all, it sounds scary, right? Like, what if they query the wrong things? But also, is
Sure.
that threatening my job? So how do you feel about that?
I don't think it is. I think that the the data scientist, like the technical user, is still always going to be extremely critical, or the technical developer. They're going to be extremely critical because they're still going to be the people who are thinking of the machine learning process that ensures the data that executives are querying against is accurate and is reliable. Um, I I don't think that job loss is something necessarily to worry about on the data side of things because it hasn't been for a while, um, and data people are going to continue to find ways to evolve and change the way they do things that just um, make their jobs more efficient.
Is there anything, I don't know if you saw the beginning of my last presentation, but I kind of defined what an agent is as this sort of entity
Mhm.
that has some resources and some tools available to it. Are you implementing anything like that at work?
Yeah, I mean that's what some of the agents that we've talked about are. I know we've built also just kind of an internal AI tool similar to what Eric was showing earlier, where we have that feedback and we have that process. It's something that once it's deployed to our team can uh, go through your email individually, go through your Slack messages, help you process your to-do list, bring things to front of mind that maybe you missed, stuff like that, and allows you to provide feedback on, hey, you told me that this was valuable, but I actually don't think it is. I'm going to downvote it, give it a thumbs down, and please don't show me this type of content in the future. I think that portion would fit really well into the vibe coding that's coming later today. Our COO has worked a lot on that process of building out a tool that we can eventually deploy to our team.
Do you feel your company is more of a tool builder or more of a builder than they used to be because of these tools?
I think we have individuals who are becoming builders. Yes, yeah. I think being able to enable people to um, think about the problem and solving the problem, and then have something handle the technical piece of it for them, is enabling a lot of people to become builders.
What about the shortcomings and the risks? Like, what about the failures? Like, where do you file? Where do you struggle?
I mean, the struggle is the struggle is adoption, right? Like we have good adoption, we have people picking it up. That is the piece where it's just continuing to hit critical mass and continuing to grow that is the challenge, right? Getting people more and more excited about it. That's a lot of work.
Hmm. They've got their day jobs. They've got the
Yeah,
things that they're
exactly. I
already
mean,
doing, and you're like, hey, come use this thing.
exactly, right. Like our consultants are already really skilled in a bunch of tools and a bunch of systems, and they're out deploying those. And to add one tool to their tool belt and say, "Hey, learn this." Like that, I think that's the thing with AI, and you kind of showed it in the earlier talks. Is like it's not a everyone can just go to it without any training and be an expert and be picking it up and be flying, right? Like it takes training, it takes upskilling, it takes learning and development from both your company and your leadership, but also individually being curious. Um, it's a process. It's not something you're going to pick up tomorrow and be like the perfect expert at, but you can be a builder within a few hours if you just spend the time and do things.
Yeah. And what are you looking forward to? Like what, as you see these tools develop, as you see the way that the landscape is shifting, the foundational models obviously are still improving, and they're adding all of these features, right? I mean, I can't even keep up. OpenAI has their own sort of automation platform that they've released now. Google like Flow is out there. I mean, just like
Yeah.
everything's moving so fast. Anything that you're particularly excited about or looking forward to getting your hands on?
I'm really excited for that pie in the sky thing that you were describing earlier. That was like everything talking to each other. We've seen some tools out there that it's just plugged into all the databases that are on the back end of all your SaaS tools, and so your SaaS tool just becomes data entry. And then when you need to learn anything about your company holistically, it's all in one place. Um, that's something that the data people have been working on forever, and it's a continuous challenge, and it's still going to take orchestration in the future. It's not going to be something that's just um, fully plug and play, but that's what I'm excited for is the day where it's um, I open up one interface, and that one interface has everything I need.
This is funny because it's kind of like anathema to our job as developers or our job as data scientists, right? Like the whole role is to be very precise, to, be meticulous about and logical about getting everything done. And I know at Machine Partners, sometimes we're working on a project and we have to sort of stop ourselves and say, wait a second, let's just try letting the AI figure it out, right? Like and just like
Yeah,
let it rip, right? And see what happens. And more often than not, we're surprised at like what a good job it does. And then it's like on us to go like, oh crap, like how did it do that? Like how did it know, right?
yeah,
And then you add some fine tuning or some boundaries or some guardrails onto it, and you find that you can actually get pretty amazing performance with almost no coding, almost no, guidance.
yeah. My favorite thing is like one of my favorite things is like the difference between OCR and actually reading the back end of like a PDF, right? You know, if I drop a PDF into ChatGPT or Elvex or Claude or whatever, a lot of people are assuming like this is using some type of OCR tool and it's visually reading this. But if you ask it, it's going to say, no, I'm reading the back end of this file. I'm actually reading the XML that supports this, that builds up everything that you're seeing on the file, but I'm just reading the code, which then allows for all that accuracy and stuff like that. But even the OCR piece is incredible. Um, I early days, I just remember going back and forth with our COO Joey, and we would drop something into ChatGPT, and we'd be like, "Did you see how quickly like this transformed this picture of a data table that I took on my computer and
Yeah.
actually put it into a CSV?"
Yeah.
Um, that's been really cool to watch advance too.
That's one of my favorite little vibe coded apps that I built was I just copy and paste a graph that I found on the internet, like a chart, and I
Yeah,
stick it in and I say, reverse engineer the data from this chart and then build a new chart using chart.js that's
yeah,
interactive. And so it turns like a static chart into a dynamic chart in like some magical some process or whatever.
right. Just a one shot prompt, and it's
Yeah.
all clean and formatted for you.
Totally. Well, Scott, it's been so awesome talking to you. I mean, you're on the front lines. You're actually building these automations, implementing them for the organization. I know that's not easy to, get the like we talked about quality. You can make something work, but yeah, making something work well is a different story. And I think you're there making things work well for your organization. So it's awesome to get your expertise and to kind of hear your insights today. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and show up
Yeah,
today.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.